Hey RK, welcome to Just Like That.
Hi, Sahil. So good to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Pleasure to have you on Just Like That.
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege to be talking to you today, Sahil.
So RK, your life has been no less than a roller coaster ride. Like, what all have you not done? Tell me that. Because you've been in the army, you served the nation, you moved on to transitioning into the corporate world, from small, medium sized organizations, transitioned again to a multinational organization. If that wasn't enough, you wanted an experience of a consulting organization, so you moved to consulting. And then maybe I'm not sure, but we figured that out. I think you got bored of that also. And you said, okay, you know what? I want to be my own boss. And you got into entrepreneurship. So tell us, so many transitions where people really struggle. How did you manage them?
Yeah, you actually absolutely put it right, Sahil, when you said that my life has been a roller coaster ride. And as much as it is by accident, it's also by design. You know, for me, change is just a way of life, and it's always been like that. So while I started with the Indian Army as a young doctor of 22 years old, and I still, feel that Army is the alma mater for me because it molded me into the kind of person that I am now. In fact, reinforce some of the values and principles that I came with when I joined forces. Yeah, I've been to forces, then I moved to, as a learning and development head for MCure Pharmaceuticals, which was based out of Pune, and then got experience around the world with American Society of Training and Development, where I worked with the Atlanta, Georgia chapter, which was actually the seed for me delving deeper and finding and embracing more into the learning and development function. And yeah, when I came back, it was Accenture and then EVA, and finally, currently the space that I am in is into consulting. And also, I'm doing my doctoral program in talent management, specifically focused on coaching. Yeah, it's been a very, very interesting journey, Sahil. I'm not saying that it was not challenging. It was not, but it was well worth the hard work. I would just say that. And the simple reason I think I made those transitions and that frequently in that sense was because I have fundamentally held to, largely two principles in life. One, which came from, my upbringing, my parents, and second, which I think largely came from my own thought process, some of which was influenced by my life partner. And I'll quickly tell you what were those
Yeah,
two
that'll be
philosophies.
very interesting to know, RK. What were these principles and how did they really influence your thinking?
Sure. So the first and foremost principle for me was, as a woman, and I champion working women and women who hold for themselves and women who have economic independence, is simply because I was raised with that, firm thought embedded in my place that in my value system that, if you are economically independent, which could be partly due to the way you're educated and the way you hold your careers, then you have a different kind of standing in, the hierarchy, the parent, the patriarchal structure that our society is kind of woven in. My great grandmother was working, so it was kind of flowing in the family. So that was one principle, which is why when I took that break from forces due to reasons which were more personal in nature, I had to bounce back, into being financially independent. And one of the driving forces for me to be financially independent was to how do I reinvent myself so that I am economically independent. Yeah. But the second principle, which is, I think, more long lasting and more internalized, is that um, is the hunger for continual learning. Yeah, it's like my husband used to say early in our marriage that, do not be a frog in the well. Like, if at a certain point in time in my career I have found that, I'm not growing, and when I say growing, I'm not talking about the vertical growth ladder here, not growing intellectually, not expanding on my knowledge base, not contributing the way I can. then I think it's time to move on. And whatever that movement might have come my way in terms of opportunity, in terms of my seeking out, my reaching out, or my exploration, that's the large second principle, which has helped me change, transition, move on.
Fantastic. Very nice. I think so. The way you've articulated it to really tell us about these transitions, it really makes us wonder to say many of us love being in our comfort zone. But if there are circumstances that get us to move out of those comfort zones, how do we really embrace change? So maybe you tell us a little more about that, RK, of how does one really ease in and ease out during these transitions? Because any kind of transition is never easy, right? Because we're very comfortable being where we are. Of course, you spoke about the whole concept of being economically independent, and then the other principle, which is closer back home. But how do you really ease in and ease out of transitions?
Yeah. And I will definitely agree with you here, Sahil, when you say change is definitely not easy. As much as we want to, quote the fact that, change is the way of life, or change is the only constant, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. It's not easy. Let me say that upfront. It's tough. It's difficult. But then, I firmly again believe in the principle of YOLO. You only live once. Yeah. So there's so much as a human being that you want to do, right? And there's such a little life that you have. So for me, keeping on doing one thing for 25, 30, 35 years of life that I have, and these days, the life expectancy is anyways going down, it was just not the way to be. Now, to answer specifically your question, how do you really ease in and ease out? Is not something you don't start changing when, on day zero, you said, I want to change. And the next day you change. It doesn't happen like that. We have a very profound saying in Forge, which says that, the more you train in peace, the less you bleed in war. So let's say if I'm trying to make a change and I'm envisaging a change, I start preparing for it at least 6 months to 1 year back in my mind, and sometimes even more than that. Yeah. And that seed of thought has to culminate into actionable steps and strategies for that change to happen 6 months, 1 year down the line. So that's one. Number two is an implicit and a deep belief in your own ability to make that change happen. Believe you me, there is nobody, and when I say nobody in the world, even your closest people in the family, who are going to make that happen for you. It's only you who's responsible for what's happening in your life, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. I'm a firm believer in that. So if you go to that second principle, I think a lot of things around change and a lot of beliefs around change will really be dispelled. And third, which is the final one, is that you find allies or find collaborators in that system to change. Yeah, while it's you who will change, but people have to come back and support you in whatever way, whether it's finding you had the right opportunity, connecting you with the right people, doing mentoring you to get to the next path that you want to, so in whatever way and form. So those are the three things that I think are kind of have helped me in my journey of change.
Wow. So I think, you really played this out so beautifully, but I've been calling you RK all this while, but Rupinder, why did you really tell me, ab itne pyar se tusi dasya ki change and transition and all of that, Punjabi which, transition no ki kehte hain? What do you really call transition in Punjabi?
That's not fair. You got me on the wrong one here. Huh? I am a hardcore Punjabi. ਮੇਰੇ ਮੰਮੀ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਘਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਸੰਗਰੂਰ ਚ ਨੇ, which is like a small town in near ਪਟਿਆਲਾ. ਬਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਪਏਗਾ ਚੇਂਜ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ. I think ਬਦਲਾਓ.
Change nahi, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਲਤ ਨਾਮ ਦੱਸਿਆ. What do you call transition in Punjabi?
Transition ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ? Transition ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ I'm kind of lost for words here. Okay, I'm gonna give this back to you. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ.
This is wonderful. Huh? To see trainer ho, to koi gal nahi, answer the question with another question. But lovely, Rupinder. It was very, very nice chatting up with you. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer, but I guess
So
we both are going to figure this out.
yeah.
We'll figure it out.
True.
Wonderful, Rupinder. Very, very nice chatting up. Thank you for joining us on Just Like That.
Sure, it's been wonderful, Sahil. I think this little time has given me a lot of insight into myself again, but brilliant talking to you. Thank you for inviting me.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Take care.